I'm far from the streets now. Far.
That's like that whole mentality that we was living in.
Yeah.
Like, it was entertaining, but it wasn't like that's not where we wanted to go.
Heck no. We was listening to Pop, Biggie, Dipset,
right, all that,
all that. But nah, dog, I wasn't about that life.
Right, I wasn't about that life either.
Nah, I was trying to get that puffy money. I'd have put my shiny suit on at that mother like. Shoot, they talk about I want to put shoot. Even the Locks put one on.
Right,
had a shiny hat to match.
and you'll hear it in the interviews that they grateful for what they went through with that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to talk about today with the with your upper row, man. Like how long? When did this start?
Started in college, man. What's so crazy is with one of my boys, I forgot. He came and met up with me one day and had on one of the ties I made in college. Had a lion on it, like this lion, and it was embroidered and stuff. He was like, "Yeah, man, remember when you made this in college and stuff?" I was like, "What? I forgot about this." It's stuff that friends that grew up with me, they pop up with pieces that I made in like high school and college. And it blows my mind. I'm like, you got that t-shirt I made in high school, dog? You're like, yeah, man, this mug, dog, it was a day. So it's crazy. Like, the upper row been going on since college, man. Like, that's why that logo was right there on the door, because that's the first logo.
Okay.
So that's the entryway.
That's good.
You know, and then this is the logo that was developed that we have now. Like here, this logo was developed after college as I advanced.
Okay.
And took it to the next level. So yeah, the upper row been going on for since, and then I incorporated in 2014. Okay. But it's been going on since like 2002 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you, because the longevity of the vision that you had for the upper row, and other endeavors as well. Cause
my production company was before the upper row.
Right. Yeah.
That's been going on forever since I was in probably the 9th grade. Okay. Since high school, 9th grade.
Right. But you kept it rooted. Like when you started that, because the production is like, it's very widespread. Mm-hmm. But like when you put roots down for a company like, your fashion brand, it's like, this is what it is, this is what it's going to be, and this is how I want it to look in the future. Like, tell us about where it's come from. Yeah. You tell us about the logo.
Yeah, like the first logo was simple. It has always been an anchor life. And the upper row, what it represented was like, if you knew me from high school, when I was started off just messing around with fashion, I was always into luxury fashion, even when it was streetwear.
Right.
I was a kid that, like, everybody else was wearing Tommy Hilfiger, they were wearing Nautica. Yeah. I was wearing Polo and Gucci because of the fabric. Okay. So I got into the fabric. I really learned a lot about fashion by happenstance. I was into fashion, the look, but because like my dad's deceased, but every summer I got to, because my parents are divorced, so every summer I would go be with him every summer. So from his job, he traveled, to different places. So I would go to New York. I've been out the country. I had been places like people from Detroit hadn't even fathomed, hadn't even thought of. So I would even get to come back with stuff, because in different regions, they carry different product by the region. Yeah. So like I would have stuff made by Polo that I'll get in New York that might not come to Detroit for another almost a year, 7 months. Okay. So I was killing them. I was super fresh. And so like I was going into them stores off 21st Street, the different streets, 12th Street, 121st Street, like going into the polo stores and stuff. And then even like if you look at the makeup of the Upper Roast store, it's not exactly on that level, but it's on a high level. But the Ralph Lauren stores was on a whole nother level, the way they laid everything out. And so that's what attracted me to them and Gucci was the quality,
right.
craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And so like traveling, I started learning about mills, I started learning about fabrics and stuff. And then in college, me getting to go touring with Kanye West and stuff like that, that's how I got into learning about colors too and textile. Cause like when I was from production, when I got to tour with them, we didn't never talk about music.
Oh, okay.
We talked about fashion. We talked about colors. We talked about the warmth of the colors. And he even see colors in the music. Like we was low key some nerdy weirdos when it came to fashion and music and film. Like we talked about the fabric of things, and then when we did talk about music, we talked about the warmth and how the sound traveled. So that's a little different.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like I got real deep into fashion, with more than just the look, but the structure. And then with me being a business major in college, then I started getting into like how the structure of the industry is set up too. Like how are these guys billionaires, and we started learning and then I saw, and Kanye talked about this and people talked like he was crazy when he talked about being a billionaire and being and owning like with manufacturing. Like if you really look at structure, whether it be the fashion industry, whether it be the music industry, whether it be the film industry, whether it be the spirits industry, when it comes to the structure, it's a lot of similarities, a lot. And then who owns it, and then the fabric and the base of it, it's not by happenstance, it's structured the way it's structured. It's definitely structured to keep us as workers.
Right.
And then they are the owners and the billionaires.
Yeah. See, you dropping gems right there.
I mean,
yeah,
this thing run deep, man.
Yeah, and that I think what you're talking about is that you started to get into a dimension that you didn't know about, and a lot of other people didn't know about because you weren't in that place to connect. Yeah,
it's almost like God just started showing me. Just like when I go out and I get to speak to kids and talk to parents, like you'll hear a lot of parents that say, I want my son to be a lawyer, I want my son to be a doctor, I want my kid to be this and that. And they say, I don't want them to be in sports or music or entertainment. I mean, I'm just going to tell you the real. Those are billion-dollar industries. And I want our kids to learn about the behind-the-scenes things, too.
Right, yeah.
Like, no, we can't start off owning and being and going into the distribution and the manufacturing side. But your son can go be in the film industry and be a pyrotech and make $150,000 to $200,000 a year.
And that's good money.
With no college degree.
Right.
That's learning a trade, a skill in technical services. So we so ignorant to the fact it's so much money for generation the Caucasians are making and other races that we not privy to, because they say, okay, son, you're smart enough, your intellectual level and also your interest, because that takes a big part too, your interest, and you're going to be the lawyer in the family. Okay, now you're going to be the doctor in the family. Okay, you're going to do the construction in the family. Okay, we got to end. Your cousin is a pyrotechnician and works at Disney Studios, and we're going to get you in when you turn 18. Boom, you ain't going to college. We're going to get you right in. And he's making he's starting off $120,000. He's getting up to $250,000 in 5 years, and then he becomes a millionaire within 10.
Right.
He's a millionaire by the time he's 30. But they don't understand, like, what our people is, we get caught up in one lane and stuff. So just like in basketball, like, no, let our sons play basketball and hoop, and they're good at it. But then let's teach them how okay, how can you go into these areas within the sports industry?
Right.
More than just broadcasting. You can do journalism. I mean, you can be a GM. I mean, you can go into, if you're in the health field, okay, you can be a strength and conditioning coach.
Right.
It's just so many different things that
right.
we get stuck on just one thing.
Right.
And it's so many lanes for us.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at when it brought in that dimension. It's just like you said with an athlete, even that person or that mother, that father that wanted their child to be a lawyer, well, that athlete, whether they got a degree or not, they can go back to school and get back into that industry and use their law to help.
And we got to understand about seed money too. You know, we can't look at it as, I saw this one player, the guy, he played football. I love the way he structured his life. He went to the, I'm going to give you 2 samples. He went to the league and he said that, okay, I'm going to get a house that's going to be under $500,000. So he got a house between $300,000 and $500,000. Then he got one car, a decent regular car. You know, he knew he wasn't a superstar. So he started planning on, and he started getting into real estate, doing other things, and he only lived off of 30% of his income.
Right.
You know, and he was debt free. And he knew, he said, he came out of college early. He knew he was in high altitude of college, going to be college educated. Mm-hmm. So he took, he just took advantage of the situation and used it as seed money, playing in the league, and tried to play as long as he could, but he was never a superstar athlete. So he did what he needed to do, and he made millions and millions of dollars to start investing and doing small increments of investing, doing little real estate, little this, little learning, and just steady building. Then you had another guy playing in the NFL, Robert Smith, that became a doctor. He knew he wanted to be a doctor. He said, okay, I have this ability to go to undergrad for free, play football, got to the league. He said, I'm going to play 5 years. He retired, took his money, went back to medical school. He made millions of dollars in the NFL, went to medical school, boom, now he's a doctor, and he got out without any major injuries. He had a plan.
Right.
And he had his team, his family were behind him, and they followed the plan.
Right.
So that's what I think we heard as a community is poor planning.
Man, you said a lot, because I think that and it's funny you talk about Smith, because that 5 years, that's a decent plan.
Oh, yeah. And he still got his NFL pension. He did that purposely.
Right, yeah. So
he said he knew how many years he needed to play.
He knew the lingo
Yep.
in the fine print to get what he needed to get to move on, because, everybody wants the accolades of the money, the championships, or all of these different things statistically, because that's what our community pays so much attention to. But I feel like what you're doing, we looking behind us. Mm-hmm. Like, what are the kids gonna get from what the seeds that we planted when we were young? You talked about being in high school. You had this dream before you even got married, before you even had kids. Now the generational wealth is getting ready to transition. That's what I want to talk about.
And I knew what I wanted to do when I was probably 10, 11 years old. I've known since I was 10, 11 years what I want to do. But I'm going to be honest with you, I had zero support. I built it actually from the ground up, and my family thought I was crazy. The only person that was was flat out like, baby, you can do anything, you can do this, was my grandmother. She kept that fight in me. Wow. She was the one that was like, no, you can do this. I mean, no disrespect to my parents. Mm-hmm. Like, my dad was like, man, you ain't gonna, how you gonna do that? We in Detroit, this, that, you ain't about that, And it was out of ignorance. It wasn't out of no disrespect or nothing like that. But it was like they didn't see it. And then my mom was more like, oh, okay, baby. But it wasn't no, let me see if I can get you enrolled in here, or let me see if I can help you get here to get to where you're trying to get to. They didn't have that wisdom and understanding, because all they knew was work a job.
Right.
And I get that.
Yeah.
So.
You think that made your tenacity to get where you want to get? Because if they would have given you something, like, what would have been the difference? Like, did that help you, or do you think that it gave you like, okay, well, this is just another obstacle, I got to get through this?
The drive I was born with the drive in me. Mm-hmm. Like my oldest son, he has the drive in him. You don't have to tell him, hey, you need to go do this or that. He does things on his own. Right. I already had the drive. I mean, even when I was a kid, like in the neighborhood, they used to call me Little Diddy, like, because I was a hustler. Like I had businesses and my own companies and businesses as a kid. So it was more of my family did not know how to support me.
Right.
They didn't have the understanding. It had not been done in our family before. I was a kid that knew somebody. I'm like, okay, I got to get up to the radio station. I mean, I'm a little kid to when Coco, Foolish, and all was at the Penobscot building at WGLB, and I'm talking my way up there. And then I was able to start doing, for the screen tour, all that different stuff, I was able to start doing Jeans and Kool-Aid series, doing the team parties and doing the meet and greets and all that off of pure hustle. So, I had my own lawn services to make the money so I can have the freshest sneakers and go buy fabrics and buy clothes.
Right.
So I did what I had to do to get to where I was trying to get, so.
So you've created a culture of familiarity. And it's funny because I was just talking about this and making videos about it. Like, the vision that we have is going to be unfamiliar to so many other people. Mm-hmm. It's only our vision. Mm-hmm. So having zero support, I think, helps. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we got to connect with somebody to bridge these gaps. So now that you blazing a trail, how are you going to help others?
Yeah, I don't think, like, that's the mentality that I think as a people we make a mistake. I don't think zero help and support is the key. I think I have a few different scenarios, but I think that when you build a foundation and build a support system that catapults generations, we've watched other ethnicities do it, but it's some for a reason we don't ever do it. We got to figure out how to hold each other up and keep building upon that. I expect my son to be able to double what I did,
right?
And stuff like that. So I think that we have to retrain and refocus our minds, because I mean, at the end of the day, people talk about, well, how did that affect us? Slavery did a lot to affect the spirit and the mind and the soul of a whole community. And so, like, it's so many walls still being torn through. Even though we have black people that have become millionaires and some billionaires, it's still like less than 1%, and it's still a fabric of a community that is still torn apart.
Right.
So I don't think like it's gonna be us to fix it, but I think we gotta first fix our households and then build from there. Like,
amen,
the structure of your family, like your household, then your extended household, meaning like your cousins, and I think as we build in those directions, the people that want to be helped, those things, that'll make things change where you be able to reach one, teach one.
Right. So the slogan, together above all, with the upper row, what you just said about the extended family, talk about the growth that you're beginning to see with people understanding, like, where your clothing lines and your entertainment and production company, are they seeing, where the roots got put down? Not the support, because we talk about support, but I mean, like, how are they relating to it?
I think people see, especially a lot of people that know me, they've seen it since they actually still sit back and watch, like, how's he doing it?
Yeah.
They still watching. I'm not going to say it's a lot of, one thing that I'll say that really, when we opened up the fashion house, what struck me I didn't see coming was we had more Caucasians and Asians purchase product from us than our own people. I did not see that coming, because I literally made it for our people. My thing was to get the top fabric, and they come with the hot designs that's classic, that, to stand the test of time. And I made it in thought of our families.
Right.
Together above all, it's about us together above all things. And that's what it's about, is us connecting and being together, building together. So I don't look at the upper row as just my family's company. I really looked at it as our company as a people. Because one thing is, I wanted to get to a place to where that we're able to really be impactful even more in the community. Like, yes, we do things now, but I want to be able to do things on a global scale at some point. So you can't expect and I say this to our people all the time, why do we expect other nationalities to come save us? It's not their responsibility. So my thing is, we need to build up our own, like companies like the Upper Row. Come spend your money with the Upper Row, then you demand for us to do things in our communities. That's just how I look at it, you know. And then another thing is, I believe in working inside out. Like, I believe in working for big companies and opening doors, but I also believe in independence, building our own independent companies, you know, and then that mixture of how we're gonna make change.
Yeah, and I fully agree with that, because I think that that's when you're working with those bigger companies, you educating yourself from different levels, whether it be from the top down or from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Whichever way you working or who you working with.
And building bridges.
Yeah.
And building bridges. Like, yeah, it's okay for us to, like, I'm all for partnerships. Like, having partnerships and how we can collaborate and be effective in the community, but we have to lead the change in our own communities. We have to lead the change.
Right.
If we're not leading the change, it's no way my good friend that's an Asian or my good friend that's a white guy can come into my black community and lead the way, telling me how it should be when they have not shared this experience. So, you know, even the stuff that goes on with Black Lives Matter and all that, it has to be led by black people. You know, it's okay to collaborate and to partner, but it should be led by black people to address the black issues.
Right, yeah. I totally agree with that. And I think that's some of the struggle that we have, because we don't often allow that wisdom of industries that we may be unfamiliar with, because it's a lot of people that are starting businesses now. Like, you years in the game, and it's people that need that information, and they think that they're going to do it with an all black, you know, community.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, you got to learn from whoever you can get the information from and the resources.
Let me give you an example what was disheartening when the Uproar officially launched and it became public. I had some people in the fashion industry that came, stopped by. They sent, you know how they send people, they sent someone to say, hey, I basically didn't go through the proper channels, and, you know, they would have probably dealt with me if I would have almost, I want to almost say, like, bow down or get their blessing, you know. And my response to that was, what's stopping them from coming through now and introducing themselves, or me having access to them, and we forgot how to collaborate and talk now. We had to change that mindset. I talked to this older gentleman, I was very disappointed. I'm like, well, I've been trying to reach out and connect to this person. I look up to them for a while, and it's like, you know, I can't focus on pleasing you to get access to you.
Right.
So, like, just even as a community, like, we got to learn how to come and celebrate with each other, and learn how to come and say, hey, young brother, I like what you're doing. I'm watching what you're doing. And when the time comes, I want to get you some game or help connect some dots or something. That's what I've been doing with the young guys. I'm open. Like, when they reach out to me, whoever, when people reach out to me, nobody can say I didn't respond or try to, you know, give them some type of form of help in some way.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's something else I want to make sure. Like, we got a lot of work to do in our community.
And that's why I'm here, because I'm like, whenever I do what I'm gonna do, I want to make sure that I done talk to the people. And I'm not saying that it's got to be that way, but like you say, reaching out to the people to get the wisdom, get the knowledge, get the connections, and just be open to what's necessary, so that, because we can't make all the mistakes as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
We got to learn from others as well. And although we're going to make mistakes, that's why I'm here. Mm-hmm. You know, like, because we got to pay homage, just like any industry.
Yeah. Just when I find out a new brother or sister opens up a fashion location, or I hear about them, I pull up, I come and purchase and support and offer, like, hey, I'm so-and-so, boom, offer myself. And, you know, I just make sure personally I do that.
Right.
You know, as much as I can. I mean, you can't never always do it, but I do it as much as I can to always extend myself and show love, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's just something that I hope some of the, because we in the middle now. I hope a lot of the OGs and then people like us start doing that for the youngsters and just showing each other love, man. It go a long way showing each other some love,
Yeah. And I think that's the richness of what you're doing here, because like I've used this I've heard this term as of late, being a trailblazer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what some of us need to do as leaders, especially as men, as black men. It's not just because we want to do something unique or this, that, and the third. This is a calling.
Mm-hmm.
And when you roll with your calling and you continue on and you go through the struggles and the trials, it's going to be tough. But, we got to go through these obstacles and get to the point where, hey, you meet somebody, y'all either at the top together, or y'all fighting y'all different battles, and y'all learning from each other. I mean, just like he was talking about the other companies, like in other different ethnic backgrounds, they didn't fight against each other.
No.
They
can do deals together, work together, don't even like each other.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Some stuff I've seen.
And you go to the department stores and you see their products sitting right next to each other.
Yep. It's amazing.
That's the way.
And they understand how to build wealth, and they understand about community.
Yeah, and it's a different level. It's not necessarily like the ground level. It's like, hey, I think you've mentioned it before about everybody has their place. Whether you're the cameraman, you're the audio technician, you do websites. I think that everybody has to stay in their lane, because there are people that are leaders that need to start and go out and do a lot of the information. But your own self-awareness is really important so that you can just go ahead and blaze the trail in the position that you're in, And I know that's difficult for some, but man, you've done so much with the Upper Row, with the ATNetwork, and I know this story could be going on and on. Because you're going to continue to tell it. And I think it's important that people recognize that you're open to share this information.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can hit me up anytime, whether it be on social media, however, and I'm always down to connect the dots with you, because there's a lot that I'm learning too still, like from the young guys and the older guys, and ladies. I want to say, when I say guys, I'm talking about both genders.
Right.
But I'm always open. It's so much. It's just so much that information traveling so fast today that you're not gonna catch it all.
Right.
So I'm just thankful each day. Especially as some of us, coming out of the pandemic. I'm just thankful every day to even breathe, and then also to even be a part of the culture.
Yeah.
So we got to just keep pushing and keep thriving and keep trying to connect the dots with our people.
Right.
With all people.
Right. Yeah. Well, brother, I appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
It's good talking with you.
You too, man.
Man, you done gave me a whole lot of information. This is gonna be good for me to review, for me to understand. Just a path that you've taken, for me to learn from.
Oh yeah.
And so
all of us, we learn from each other.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, brother. Right. Right.